Good morning, everyone. It is indeed a pleasure to be here. It's a very exciting time for us, and we are delighted to have as partners Anime Carib, ICE, the Incubator for Collaborative Expression, and Future in Nature Synergies. This is a collaborative team that hails from 3 countries of our CDB19 borrowing member countries, and that is really, really important to us. So we are happy that we have met that objective of having 3 countries partner to execute this particular accelerator. And so the companies hail from Trinidad and Tobago. Anime Carib is the lead partner. Bahamas, Antonius Roberts will be the curator for this exhibition. And Future Nature Synergies is from Barbados, and he's bringing the environmental leaning for this accelerator. We are delighted to have 25 artists from 12 of CDB's 19 borrowing member countries. Again, that is really, really significant, and we hope that you take full advantage of the opportunities presented by this wide, array of experiences and cultural nuances from each of the countries. So I just wanted to share a little bit of background to why we decided, or why we chose to do an accelerator as a biennial. We recognize that a biennial is an important structure for the visual arts in particular. So this is the only, of course, biennial event that is happening as an accelerator within CIF. And the biennial, we don't have as much opportunity as Caribbean artists to participate in international and regional biennials, or in some cases, artists participate in international biennials and don't have the opportunity to participate or show their work regionally. So we felt that it was an important intervention to provide space for our regional artists to explore each other, the work of artists within the region, and to collaborate with other artists in the region, and to really, make the most of that opportunity. But in addition to that, within CIF, the Cultural and Creative Industries Innovation Fund, we have as one of our key criteria transversality, or intersectoral exchanges. In addition, we stress what we call synesthesia, which is the interlinking, or the exchanges between, the fusion between different art forms, so between fashion and visual arts, for example. So I want to speak a little bit about those 2 elements which are very poignant within this particular accelerator, and which are part of our criteria, which is why this particular project got selected to run the accelerator. So in terms of transversality, what we really look for is the ways in which visual arts, or the particular subsector area, intersects with other industries. And that can be from gender to environmental sustainability, urban planning, technology, tourism. There are a range of sectors that our art forms can intersect with. And we find that that is really important in terms of how successful and sustainable the projects themselves are, and the artists who are involved, how sustainable their projects are. Why is this important? Because we need to integrate with life as artists. We need to have a cause, a purpose, and an intention. And in that way, our arts can be brought, to have even greater impact in our societies. And that's really important to us. This ties directly into one of the bank's objectives, and that is to, interface with communities and to impact communities, to reduce poverty, to alleviate poverty, to increase livelihoods, to increase the income earning capacity of our members of our community. So these criteria, in other words, they're very significant, and they're very much aligned with the bank's overall objectives. In addition, in terms of interfaces or connection between subsectors, between visual arts, for example, and fashion, or visual arts and architecture, or visual arts and film, we find that that's really important to the innovative potential of the particular art form and artist. And we see a lot of room, a lot of scope for exciting projects to happen, especially within the Caribbean context and within that framework. So that's one of the other areas that we really emphasize in developing SIF accelerators or SIF programs more generally. Additionally, I wanted to share a little bit about our work in terms of value chains. And perhaps this is not an area that many artists delve into in a major way. However, in structuring programs, we have to ensure that we respect and we adhere to the value chains that allow for the development of that particular subsector. So for example, you know, you all are the creators and the producers, but then you all have to maybe manufacture your work to some extent. You know, some persons may do printing of their work on different kinds of materials, canvas or different kinds of papers to be able to disseminate it more widely. So that's the production aspect. And then there's the dissemination and the consumption aspect. And then there are all the underlying support systems, archiving, cataloging, training, and so on. So we really pay attention to that, and we try to build that into our programming so that we don't just do an intervention and then the practitioner is left saying, okay, well, what now? What next? We try to at least cover two aspects of the value chain. And so this is why this brings me to another very important point that you will hear about, and that's the prize grants. At the end of this program, you all will be doing a pitch competition. It's basically presenting the product that you have worked on during this program. And so you will have the opportunity to pitch for larger prize grants between $2,500 and $5,000, I believe, dollars each, US dollars, of course, to be able to carry your project to the next level and make it more sustainable. We will also be presenting other opportunities in that regard, where our project is going to intersect with technology in a very distinct way. We would have the opportunity to share resources with hackers who can help you, for example, to develop a technological aspect of your program to bring it to more audiences, whether it's a chatbot to make it, you know, more accessible online, or whatever other kind of feature that you all can imagine. And so this is part of the STEAM approach as well. So, you know, I mean, I'm going to leave Antonius, who's the curator for this exhibition, to speak much more deeply about the theme. But we were very, very interested in this particular theme because it, of course, also touched on another really important area of the bank's work, and that's environmental sustainability, climate change and environmental sustainability. I'm pretty sure that everyone here is well aware of the significance of this to our Caribbean islands. We have been touched by hurricanes, we have been touched by immense flooding, and points, you know, we've experienced volcanoes, as in Montserrat, so that we have to prepare for these crises. We have to be able to address these crises in meaningful ways, not only in terms of the the infrastructure fallout and the physical fallout, but in terms of the emotional and the mental stability of the persons experience these kinds of crises. And that's, of course, not to even mention the pandemic that we're all going through. So this thematic, the idea of statelessness and how it intersects or how it relates to these various kinds of crises, is really an important topic for our region, especially as as small island developing states. So I think you can see the range of areas that this particular intervention is meant to address. And it is not that we expect each artist to address this full scope or this full range. It's about you being able to have the resources to pick an area that you want to go more in depth with, and have access to trainers who can give you, can provide that greater depth in that particular area, whether it's gender or art therapy, and allow you as an artist to explore that area more fully, the area that you choose to explore more fully. So we present the different areas for you to get a better understanding of it through the workshops, and then you'll have the opportunity to delve a little further into it with your artistic practice. So I believe that's all I would like to say. Again, thank you to Anime Karib. Thank you to Mr. Roberts. Thank you to Martin Ford for the work that they're doing in bringing this exciting project into being. We know that it has not been an easy journey. There's a lot of background work that goes on, you know, in getting you to this point and getting us all to this point. And so we're very grateful to them for all the work, the hard work and the dedication that they have demonstrated in bringing us to, you know, to this opening. So thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Barrow. Thank you so much for those words. And just in case some of you all may not know, Dr. Barrow is an artist herself. So I know that the root of this project is very, very meaningful to her. So I would like to introduce, just before I introduce our session presenter and the project curator, Antonius Roberts, just a mention of the sustainability of the art by Dr. Barrow there is something that we don't hear often, and it's beautiful, Dr. Barrow, to hear that as part of what we are doing. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the session presenter and the project curator that all the artists here would have access to, Mr. Antonius Roberts, to carry on the rest of the session.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this amazing project and initiative. For me, I would just like to just share my personal experience with this whole concept of what it means to be stateless or statelessness, and the impact it continues to have, particularly on people within the Caribbean and even globally. I've had the privilege in 1984 to conceive and develop an art program, which it is still funded by the Central Bank of the Bahamas. And this art program actually was designed with the intent of providing access and opportunities for young, talented students in the Bahamas by way of developing a platform upon which they can not only display their creative abilities, but also to compete with one another for prizes, and prizes to be able to afford art materials, but also to compete for scholarships. 3 or 4 years into that program, it was so amazing that the winners of the program happened to have been mostly kids of Haitian descent. And the reality of that is the Bahamian parents and so forth became aware of this, and then as opposed to celebrating it, they began to object. Well, who is this program for? How is it that the Haitians are winning all of the competition and getting all the monies, or somebody from Jamaica or whatever? And then we realized that there was a serious issue in the Bahamas of kids who were born in the Bahamas by Haitian parents, and in some cases Haitian and Bahamian parents union. They were allowed access to, and they are still allowed access to our educational system, but then the reality is a lot of them are undocumented. And so the very program that we set up, the Central Bank Annual Art Exhibition and Competition, really made us aware of the serious issue, underlying issue of our people living within the shadows. And so therefore, what over the years, and particularly still now, we have a lot of our bright, talented individuals who are born in the Bahamas but are not granted Bahamian citizenship are still living in the shadows. And so I'll move that a little further and talk about the impact of storms. Most of, or the significant amount of individuals who are impacted significantly by storms and whatever are in fact quite a number of individuals who are here and they have no status. And so therefore, when we talk about the counts of people who are impacted by the storm or those who lose their lives or whatever, some of these individuals are not added to the count because they are undocumented. And so therefore, this whole issue of statelessness is real in the Bahamas, and I'm sure by extension throughout the Caribbean. And so for me, I am so excited to be a part of this initiative that is Caribbean in its approach. And whether you're from Haiti, whether you're from Jamaica, whether you're from Barbados, wherever you are, is almost as if we're beginning to establish or develop a platform by which people of the Caribbean, people down south, people have access to this platform, and whereby we can allow their voices to be heard, and we can have greater cross-fertilization and conversations, and so that we all can share ideas, share concepts, and share issues and share our pain, and hopefully figure out how we could continue to develop lasting relationships, supportive relationships, so that we can begin to collaborate, whether it's through art, it's through music, or whatever have you. And so at this particular point, I think it is important for me to share that I am not the sole curator of this, of the exhibition. I feel as an individual and as a senior artist, and yes, I'm senior artist, and I see, don't laugh, because I see a couple other senior artists who are participating in this event. I think it is important for us to use this opportunity to establish mentorship. And I think it is important for us to use our cloud, our position to reach out to younger artists and to provide them with access as well. And whether it's providing them with access to our studios or just access to be able to allow their voices to help shape, to shape the future, so that we can also be able to start to build bridges between the senior artists and the younger artists as well. And that also speaks to us being mindful of the communities in which we create our art, and our responsibility to be able to pass the baton, as it were, or to share our experiences, or to open our studios and open our world up to as many young artists as possible. So I would like to say that I have identified 2 young Bahamians to assist me in helping to curate this exhibition. And one of them is Melissa Ingram. She's a young Bahamian with a degree in environment science. And she also has a background in Caribbean species and identification and research experience in marine and terrestrial ecosystem. And so therefore, I mean, her mind, her brain is more right brain. She is science bent, but I felt it was important to invite her to to be engaged in this process as well. And then there's another young Bahamian by the name of Benjamin Mutri Grant, who is a Christian artist, and he also calls himself a social architect. And he is passionate about international cultural diplomacy, and is committed to using his faith to develop stronger communities. And so again, moving forward, you will either see me and also see Benji, or see the three of us engage in conversations with each of you artists, because it is important for us as curators, or for any curator, to allow the voices of the artists to be heard. I mean, our job is to facilitate your wishes. Our job is to make sure that you as individual artists feel as if you are being heard, feel as if you have a fair opportunity and access to those persons who are set up to support you. And in this case, Caribbean Development Bank and this team, so that we can answer your questions. We can also help you to find the necessary resources, so that at the end of the day and at the end of this experience, this become very, very transformative, and also to make this whole process more of a fun one, not so laborious, not so frustrating, but to provide you with free and full access. And so on that note, I would just like to ask Roxanne to share a brief documentary about Project ICE Bahamas. And I think at the end of that, I'd like to open the floor to question and answers, because I think you will find that this documentary speaks to collaboration and speaks to a kind of a vehicle that I envision that we can use to document the voices and the ideas and of the artists throughout the Caribbean, and be able to share these ideas, not only in catalog or digitally, but in a sort of an amazing film documentation that I think is very, very important for us as a people. Spirit. The infants of history and the ancestors of forever. Rebirth by the earth and fed through the manna. Spirit is not about holding on to the baton. It is knowing when to release it. Believing yesterday, remembering tomorrow, never old, never new. Spirit. Before there was a Project ICE, there was this warehouse. So when I came into this warehouse, I met a physical condition. It just showed disrespect. It showed abandonment. It just shows that lack of value. But I had to look beyond that physical manifestation of how I found this place and connect to a spirit, a place that was just so beyond the visual. I had to connect to how it spoke to me spiritually, and I had to look at what I felt this place was calling to be. You know, there are warehouse spaces all around. There is New York, Greenwich Village, abandoned buildings. There is Wynwood District. Why we in the Bahamas cannot just take a chance on ourselves, on our creatives and our ideas, and why couldn't we just do it here?
ICE actually stems back to the origin of what this original space was intended for, which was to be Holiday Ice. It was a ice and water company, and the warehouse, even the water catchment system, everything that we used was Holiday Ice property. And then it became derelict after some time, and Antonius had the opportunity to come into this space and kind of be the groundskeeper and steward of the space, and in protecting history and tradition wanted to keep that ICE philosophy moving forward. So Project ICE, ICE stands for the Incubator for Collaborative Expression. We are the home for interdisciplinary education. We believe in passing forward knowledge in a new and holistic way, but we believe that community and sustainability and regeneration is the first and foremost pillar of anything that we do. So we approach art, we approach music, we approach growing food, science, math, and everything through that ICE philosophy. So our focus is just creating spaces that help bring people together and help move them to where we believe their best potential lies.
One of the major challenges for young creatives, the challenge of reoccurring expenses as it relates to having a studio space, and the challenge of when we look at light and water, just basic necessities. I felt that I needed to focus on sustainability, and I had to focus on the essence of what was necessary to begin to breathe life into this space. And so therefore, solar was for me the most accessible way of bringing power into this space. Living in the Bahamas, all of the sun, so using our natural resources. I put in a 8 kilowatt solar system that powers this place at this particular time. And because of Ulrich Fox's vision and having this cistern water reserve here, immediately I put in a submersive pump into that cistern. We have access to water, which is important for bathroom. And so again, people coming into this space immediately realize that there's something different. It is a space where we're not coming here to waste light, we're not coming here to waste water, we are coming here to celebrate our natural environment, to actually adopt best practices and be respectful to an environment, and really just focus on your vision and how do our goals and our purpose, how we can leverage these natural resources so that we can not only think about art and creative sort of community, but we can also learn a little bit and respect science.
From the pandemic started, I actually, right before everything happened, for lack of better terms, I left school, I dropped out to pursue my passion of composting. I'm here at Project ICE to initiate the first steps of beginning like food forests in our country. A lot of Bahamians don't really think of agriculture as like a fun or an important job, but it's a foundation for any good society, food production. And I mean, the closer the source, the healthier the food, the better the lives, all those good things. I just needed a place where I knew I could bring a lot of waste and I could process a lot of waste. So Project ICE gave me that space and that freedom. I want people to come here and to be able to learn about the natural resources we have and how they can produce their own food, or even from a community aspect. You don't have to grow everything in your yard. You just have to know people who grow other things in their yard and how to network and how to communicate. And it's tough because right now we're in a pandemic where socializing and communication is all done distantly or online, but this is preparing for after that,
I believe the Bahamas is going through a creative renaissance because we're a very young country. So our culture is still developing itself out. But now as you have innovation and technology and these new forms of creativity, the Bahamas is going to move into this next wave and level. We have all this derelict land that can be repurposed with art. We have all this young creative human capital that needs work right now and has all this creative talent. So what I see ICE being is that middle ground, that passageway, that funnel that people come to, and they may have ideas that they've never acted on before, but they leave the space with a little bit more encouragement to act on those ideas. Or maybe it's that this space is the facilitative platform where that idea becomes a reality.
I see this place as a culture hub where everything Bahamian will be redefined and actually more defined, like we are the new generation, we are the new people, and we're taking over this space and showing Bahamians that We can be creative, we can be innovative, we can be sustainable, we can be resourceful, we can work together. We don't have to rely on external sources for innovation or things to be in our country. This space proves that you can do anything with the right vision and the right persistence and determination.
I believe that Project ICE is able to execute the vision that you have for this place, to be able to turn a warehouse into a place bustling with energy, innovation and excitement. Then we have all these thousands of broken down buildings and abandoned houses around Nassau. I'm sure the other family islands have that situation as well. And we can go and create more and innovate and be game changers using what other people would see as garbage.
Project ICE. So I think it is a concept that has the ability to be unified far beyond our expectations. That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much. When I've been asked to curate this event, I was just fortunate to have a young filmmaker by the name of Gary Wong, and you can look him up on Instagram or social media. His name is Gary Wong Film, and he came in and he immediately connected to the spirit he found at the warehouse at Project ICE, and I must give a shout out to him because he took a lot of our raw footage, and then he came in and he made some footage himself, and he actually put this presentation together for us because he felt it was important for our stories to be shared, and he did this for us free of charge. And the film that you just, and the documentation you just witnessed it's just an example of collaboration, an example of just remaining open and allowing people access to your vision, access to your creative process, and allowing them to help you not only to document that process, but to clearly articulate what it is that you intend to articulate. And so that's basically my presentation, because you heard a lot of talking today, and I would just like to open the floor for anyone who may have specific questions. And if you are unable to ask questions at this particular time, I would just like to say to you, to invite you all to reach out to me. All of my information will be readily available to you, but I would love an opportunity to have a kind of a virtual studio visit and or discussion with each of you, I think over the next 2 weeks, again, so that I can clearly understand what it is that you intend to communicate through your project, and maybe be able to assist you to expand it to be as inclusive and as transformative as we expect it to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Antonius. I'm not seeing any hands up, so I am not sure if anyone would have a question for Antonius before we move on. So Antonius, I'm assuming they would ask you all of the questions when the time comes, right? So, I mean, but that was an amazing video, Antonius. I hadn't seen that before. I just saw the online stuff that you have, and it is just so heartwarming to see how the Bahamian youths were interacting in the space. So bravo to you and that project, and we would love to bring an ICE project in Trinidad, and I'm sure all the other Caribbean islands. You know, we certainly have the space.
Well, thank you so much, and also envision that perhaps the exhibition will be centered around that space and other spaces. Whenever we get to that point. But I think it is important for me to indicate here that some of the young men who you would have seen in the video, they too struggle with this whole concept of statelessness.
Right.
You are probably aware that Bahamian women cannot pass their birthright on to their children.
I know of that. I'm sure a lot of the audience,
All right.
a lot of the audience probably didn't know that.
It is crazy.
Learned that 2 years, a year ago, I learned that.
Yeah, and so it is a serious concern, an issue that we struggle with within the Bahamas. But again, it is very important for you artists, for all of you, and I wouldn't just say artists, I will say my friends, my colleagues, to make sure that you document your process, and whether your documentation is in a written word, whether it's through music, whatever means that is possible, it is, just document. Any and everything is important, because at the end of this process, I would love to have access to all of your documentation, and we will hopefully be able to edit some of it and use some of it as part of curating this event, whatever it is. At the end of this program.
Great, thank you so much, Antonius. I would now like to introduce Roxanne Coldthrust, who is also, of course, a director at Anime Carib, to give some house rules and some further information that may be necessary for us to move on.
Thank you, guys. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in on the program this morning. So we're up to 31 people on the session, but 25 of you have, won your spaces as participants from your countries. We're so happy to have you all. We have Bahamas, Barbados, Haiti, Jamaica, Suriname, you name it. We have about 13 countries participating, and I just want to say thank you and congratulations to each and every one of you. We've gotten back your signed contract documents, and that is very, very important just for process, right? Please make note of your deliverables. We have some deadlines by which we would need you to supply certain things, all towards getting your stipend for the project. It's not a lot of money, we're so sorry about that, but it's a little something that can push it along, right? So thank you so much. We so look forward to your participation and your final pieces. That's going to be totally exciting to see. We know that we have participants here from all across different areas: projectionists, animation, art, fine art, architecture. I think this is going to be a wonderful experience. I'm totally looking forward to it. So I'm going to be in contact with you via email. Most of you we've talked already. Thank you so much. And please keep in mind, we're going to go through, you have your list of sessions for the next 6 days, today and 6 more days. Sunday is a day of reflection, rest and reflection, but we end off on Tuesday. Most days are 10 to 12. On your final day, it's 10:30 to 12. Please make a note of the session times and register for the sessions. And then we have on Saturday, we have 2 sessions, one in the morning, 10 to 12, and one in the afternoon, 1 to 3. So we hope that you can join in on all the sessions. The idea behind these sessions is that they inform, we have particular topics that we're trying to explore. And so the sessions just help you to explore that a little more. Yes? So we look forward to your questions, concerns, issues. Please raise them. In the chat area, I've put in Antonius's contact information. He is to be your mentor, your guide, your sounding board, right? So please grab that information so that you have it, so that you can easily make contact with him. We look forward to working with you guys, and Martin Ford is also on the session this morning. He is going to be one of your facilitators for another session on Friday. So I hope you all have a wonderful program. It's what you make it.
Roxanne, we have a question from Analdo.
Yes, Analdo.
Oh, hi, Roxanne.
Good morning.
Thanks for noticing. You mentioned communication regarding the outcomes. I haven't seen one, and I was wondering if that was emailed already, or whether you were just going to go it over in the session. Thank you.
A communication regarding the outcomes?
Yeah, you'd mentioned that earlier.
Yes, so we have in the contract document, and I think Johan Medford would have signed it on your behalf of your team. So you have some key deliverables: attendance at the workshop sessions, allow your art form to be mentored and guided by the project curator, the provision of photo and video content of the progress of your work. That is the start, some bits at the start, the middle, and the end. And this could include sketches or notes that show the development of your work. So that's for us to kind of see your progress, but it's also to be able to use in the kind of promotional pieces that Antonius was talking about. Pulling some of the pieces together. We are looking at preparation of a finished piece by Friday, the 30th of April. So far, that's our deadline date. So far. We want you to be able to provide a 1-minute video talking about your project, the outcome, and your involvement in the program once the piece is completed. So that's a short piece that allows us to understand a little more about your project. You're also to provide an artist statement for the piece. And then we were asking for workshop feedback, a 3 to 5 line blurb on the overall workshop, your thoughts surrounding what was presented and how it could influence or interact with the work that you will be producing. So the idea is there's a constant bit of feedback that we'd love to have from you, from each of you, towards giving us kind of, as this is the first biennial, we want to be able to improve and grow and develop as we go along. But that's what we need. Not too many things.
Okay.
Thanks, Roxanne.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. So, yes, no more questions. So I do believe we've come to the end of the session today. Thank you so much, Antonius, for that wonderful presentation. Thank you, Dr. Barrow. I know you're still there, for giving us the platform for this to happen. And thank you to the other partners. And of course, thank you, the artists themselves, for even, taking up the mantle and saying, let's do this during this time, because I know what it's like, because we are all experiencing this crazy COVID, where we feel like we can't breathe. And I do feel that art is a way of us breathing. So looking forward to working with you all. I have a session on tomorrow.
Question from Sonia.
Sonia, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to check in on, thank you for running down the deliverables again. That was helpful. When you talk about a finished piece by April 30th, how finished are we thinking? Can it be, and I'm wondering if this can connect to at the end when we're pitching for project grants. Is it can we finish it to a point, but if we could get more funding, it could be made into an edition, or I'm someone who works in books, so I make artist books over a period, a long period of time, a couple of months. I usually handset type and print stuff. I can make something for the 30th or start something and have a version of it. Especially in a digital realm, but then can that connect to something more? Or are you expecting a super finished piece? What's the expectation?
May I answer that?
Yeah. Hi, Antonius.
Hi, Sonia. It's great to see you. Great to see you. And I think for me as an artist, the process is even more important than the finish, the actual, like you say, edited object or artifact that is expected to be to be installed somewhere. So it is important to document, and it's important, I think in your case, because I know what you're doing, and I know when you started this whole concept, because I think the first iteration was at the central bank. So it's brilliant, but I'm not sure that this is something that is expected to finish or end at the end of a 4-week period. I personally, as an artist, think, and I'm agitating for at least 6 to 8 weeks, everybody. I just want to put that on a record. All right, I'm agitating so that so you all could have more time. But the reality for me as an artist and as a curator, I think this is a beginning. I think this whole experience is going to be organic. And I think it is so important that we provide artists with the space to explore, to expand, to even stop in mid-stride and change its sense of direction, if that sense of direction will add to the value of your presentation. So for me as a curator, I am not so concerned with an end product as I'm so much concerned about how many people are engaged and or impacted by your concept and through your vision.
Beautiful.
I will say that the CDB is concerned with an end.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yes,
they need an end. So.
And we
Don't shoot me. I'm just saying.
We do have Dr. Barrow hands up, so she will have something to say about that, Antonius. But we don't know what you mean. Just before Dr. Barrow comes on, I just want all of the artists to know that we'd love for them to introduce themselves here. So please be prepared for that after Dr. Barrow speaks.
Good morning again, and Antonius, your agitation is well noted.
Thank you so much.
So we obviously have to report on what is done during the program and the outcome. Of course, that's important in the context in which we're working, which is a development banking context. We do understand, however, that art takes some time to do and to do well. So I think that the important thing is that there's an outcome and that you are pitching concepts, ideas, and visuals that are meaningful, even if they are not complete, right? Or fully complete. How we have tried to accommodate this and find a kind of bridge or compromise between what artists need and what a development banking context requires is that, after you do that pitch and we have that online version of the event, we are planning for a face-to-face version of the event, a face-to-face version of the exhibition. We haven't set a date for that event for obvious reasons, right? The COVID-19 context prevents us from being able at this juncture to set a concrete date because we don't know when persons will be able to travel, when it will be safe, when persons would have vaccinations and so on. So we had to build a little kind of flexibility into that, that aspect. How we've done that is we've said, okay, yes, you present something and you present something that is as complete as possible or as meaningful as possible at at that online exhibition date, which I believe is set for the 7th, thereabouts the 7th of May, right? And thereafter, when you pitch, you have the opportunity to pitch for this prize grant, which will give you more money to really complete those who win the prize grant complete a fleshed out project, right? Project scope. And, whatever resources you can or we can and the team can bring to that project, we will attempt to bring any additional resources, collaborations, whether it is within the bank, with other departments in the bank, with other collaborators that Antonius or Martin or Roxanne and Camille may know. We are very, very interested in community engagement. That is a critical feature and factor within this engagement of your communities in whatever country that you are in, right? In the Bahamas, in Trinidad, in Haiti, in whatever country. Engage your communities in your process. Expand the reach of your project as far as possible. And report to us on what you have done on who you have engaged and how you have engaged them, because that is really critical to our outcome. We want our at the end of the day, as a development bank, what we are seeking to do is to reduce barriers to access, create deeper engagement and stimulation of communities, create bridges for them to understand that there are other ways of doing things and ways to get out of their challenging situations, and to give them those potential avenues to do that. So it's about opening minds, right? And as artists, I believe that you are very, very well positioned to do that in a meaningful way. And that's what we want you to really explore. And that's why we're giving you the space and some money to begin to try to explore that. And for those who have done it the most successfully, we'll offer you some more money when you win those prize grants to build on that. And that's our approach. But we continue to seek other opportunities on your behalf as well.
That's great. Fantastic. So we would like to open the floor, Roxanne, at this point, right, to the artists.
And I just want to make one little statement about
Sure.
payment. Dr. Barrow just mentioned payment. So we are looking at, on your letters, you would have seen a value that we would pay to you, and that will come through Anime Carib. And payment will be dispatched after you've attended the workshop sessions and provided concept designs and photos of the starting point of your project. And those we hope can be submitted by Thursday, the 15th of April. We sent you a link where you would put in your banking information so that we'd be able to send that money straight to your account. For the participants from Bahamas, we will send that money to Mr. Roberts, and then he will disburse it to each of you on the ground. So that's where we are. We're looking at, so your first deadline is Thursday, the 15th of April, to give some concept design, some photos, a bit of having attended all your sessions, a bit of a blurb on where you're going to with your project. Good.
Okay.
Thank you so
great.
much.